Hi students, welcome back to class. This week we'll be going over two very important competencies for you, simple and compound sentences. So let's get started. To begin, I have a question for you. Do you think you are an independent person? Why or why not? So pause the video now and write down the answer on a piece of paper or in your notebook. And then when you're ready to discuss it, come back to the video. Alright, let's see what you wrote down. Did you say something like, yes, because I do many things by myself? Or maybe you answered no, and you said something like, no, because I need help to do a lot of things. So, someone who is independent, like the first sentence says, is someone who can do many things by themselves. However, you are dependent on your parents for food and shelter. You are dependent on your teachers to teach you new things. So you need someone else to help you do something, okay? So keep this in mind, the difference between being independent and dependent on someone else. So we're going to start off with something called independent clauses. Now, you might be wondering, what are independent clauses? Independent clauses are groups of words with a subject and a verb that is a complete thought. So what that means is it's independent. It can stand alone. It doesn't need anything else. So let's look at some examples to make sure that this makes sense. For example, the teacher sings beautifully. We have the subject, which is teacher, and we have the verb that is sings, right? And let's look at it all together. The teacher sings beautifully. Is that a complete sentence? Yes, right? If we wrote that as a sentence, it would be perfect. There's a subject and there's a verb, and there's even an adverb, right? Let's look at the second one. She quickly ate the bread. So again, we have the subject, she, and we have the verb, ate. And together, this is a complete thought. It's a complete sentence, right? She quickly ate the bread. This is what we mean by independent clauses. It can stand by itself. It is independent. These are very different from dependent clauses. And you may be wondering, what are dependent clauses? Now, dependent clauses are similar to independent clauses with one very important difference. They are still groups of words with a subject and a verb. However, it is not a complete thought, so it cannot stand alone. So again, let's use some examples. When it rains. Is that a complete sentence? Does it give you a complete thought? No, right? It's missing some very important things. However, it does still have a subject and a verb. So it is the subject and the verb is rains. It just doesn't make sense, right? And the second example, because she cheated. Again, there's a subject. The subject is she and the verb is cheated. But we don't know what's happening. Because she cheated, is this the end of the sentence, the beginning of the sentence? We need more information. So that's what we mean by a dependent clause. It cannot stand alone. It needs something else. Okay, I'm going to pop up here because we need more space down here. So these cannot stand by themselves. They need something else, right? So we might want to add stuff like this. So instead of just saying when it rains, we might want to say Hargeisa floods when it rains. Now it's a good sentence, right? Now it makes sense. Or because she cheated. It's not clear enough. If we add she was suspended because she cheated, that makes a bit more sense. There's more information, right? So that's what we mean by dependent clauses. It can't stand alone. It needs something else to make sense. Pop quiz. All right, I want you to write I if it is an independent clause and D if it is a dependent clause for these four clauses, okay? So pause the video now, write down the answers in your notebook or on a piece of paper, and when you're ready to see the answers, come back to the video. Are you ready to check your answers? Here they are. IDDI. So check your answers, see how you did, and if you think you need a little bit more review, just rewatch the first part of this video. Otherwise, you're ready for the next step. Next, we're moving on to simple sentences. And you might be wondering, again, what are simple sentences? Simple sentences is a sentence that has one independent clause and no dependent clauses. So we just talked about what those two types of clauses are, right? A simple sentence only has one independent clause, no dependent clauses. So here are some examples. The family rented a bus. I love my mother. Here we have the subject, which is the family, and the verb is rented. And then we have the subject I, and the verb is love, right? There are other words in the sentence. We have a bus and we have my mother. But those are not clauses, right? They're just nouns. So these two examples are simple sentences. The next type of sentence we're going to go over is compound sentences. Now, what are compound sentences? These are sentences that combine two or more independent clauses. Again, no dependent clauses. And these independent clauses are joined by coordinating conjunctions. And I have the list right here. For, and, nor, but, or, yet, or so. So again, let's look at some examples. Below we have Jenny sang a song, but Gianna did not like it. James taught a class, and then he made coffee. So let's identify the different parts of these sentences that show us that these are compound sentences. We have Jenny sang. So we have the subject Jenny and the verb sang. Gianna did not like it. The subject Gianna and the verb did not like it. And then we have the coordinating conjunction but. So we have an independent clause and an independent clause joined together with a coordinating conjunction. Okay? Second example. James taught a class. So James, subject, verb, taught. Then he made coffee. Subject, he, verb, made. And again, they are joined by the coordinating conjunction and. So these are examples of compound sentences. Okay, I'm going to go down here so I have more space up here to go over this chart with you. So we have simple sentences and compound sentences. We're going to go over a last review to make sure we understand the difference between simple sentences, compound sentences, and the different types of clauses in both of them. So here we have an example of a simple sentence, and it has an independent clause only. We have an example of a compound sentence, and these always have two independent clauses. We also have examples of what are not simple sentences and what are not compound sentences. So if we have an independent clause with a dependent clause, like this sentence, the woman eats cake when she visits her grandmother, that is not a simple sentence. If we have two independent clauses with a dependent clause, that is still not a compound sentence. For example, the woman jumped and she hit her head after she heard thunder. You might be asking yourself, why aren't these compound sentences? There's two clauses and they have subjects and they have verbs. The key word is these, when and after. When and after are not coordinating conjunctions, okay? You can only have compound sentences when you have coordinating conjunctions. So if you forgot what they are, go back a couple slides and you'll see the list when I taught you what compound sentences were. Time for another pop quiz. So for these, I want you to write S if it is a simple sentence, C if it is a compound sentence, and N if it is neither. Read them carefully because they're very, very similar. I did this on purpose. So pause the video now, write these down in your notebook or on a piece of paper, write S, C, or N, and when you're ready to see the answers, come back to the video. All right, are you ready for the answers? Let's see how you did. How did you do? We have CSN, SNC. If you think you did well, then you're ready to go on to the Google Classroom and complete an extra assignment there. However, if you think you need more practice, watch this video again, do the activities and the pop quizzes again, and then go on to the Google Classroom. And that's it. That's the end of our lesson. I hope you learned a lot about simple and compound sentences and the clauses that both of them have. Remember, if you want to improve your English, you can do 3 things. Number 1, read. Number 2, read. Number 3, read. So that's it for this lesson. I'll see you in the Google Classroom, and until next time, bye.